Hi, I'm Steve Ferrell. Welcome to the 30-Day Meditation Challenge. If you're newer to this page, I'm going to suggest that you click the subscribe button down below so that it's easy for you to stay updated on all of the videos that we begin to offer through time. The technique that we're going to be exploring today is one maybe referred to as sense noting. Really what we'll be doing is just noticing and noting to ourselves what our senses are taking in at any given moment. Doing our best not to get wrapped up in some of the content that begins to arise around that. And so again, finding your comfortable position, whatever that may be today. And as you sit again and again, it might even be that different days are asking for different positions, and that's okay. Right? That some days might be sitting days and some days might be lying days. Some days might be on a cushion cross-legged, and some days might be on a chair stacked up on a few blankets or a yoga block. Just know that all of these things are fine. Right? That really we want to find a position where we're not struggling against our bodies too much to settle into things. And as you find that position, the invitation to softly close the eyes. We'll take a couple breaths on purpose. Using the breath as a tool to bring more attention into what the body is feeling. And then spending just these first few moments of practice feeling breathing in the body. And as you feel that breath, using the breath not only as a tool to get more into this body, but also using the breath as a tool for focus and concentration. And so being able to stabilize our attention somewhat. And then whenever you seem ready, and as attention begins to stabilize, just allowing your awareness to travel. Noticing what your senses begin to pick up. And it's not as though we're trying to keep our attention in one fixed position or on one particular sense. Just as our awareness is floating around in our context, noticing how one sense will start to come to the forefront. Whether it's your ears picking up on sound, your eyes picking up on visual images or colors behind the closed eyelids. Whether it's a sensation in the body, a taste in the mouth, or a smell coming in through the nose. And as you notice that for yourself, whatever sense it is that moves to the foreground, can you begin to label that sense? And so the labels that we'll use will be, if the ear is picking up on sound, we'll say to ourselves, hearing. If it's a sensation in the body, we'll say to ourselves, feeling. And so on through the senses, tasting, smelling. And as long as that sense is in the foreground, can you keep labeling it for as long as it's there? And so if it's a sensation, you just say to yourself, again, slowly, feeling, feeling, feeling. And when our awareness starts to divert to a new sense, then we change the label. An important part of this technique is that we try not to get too wrapped up in the actual label. So it's not as though we're trying to label correctly. Instead, what we're doing is just putting a note, like a little stick-it note, onto what awareness is picking up on. If we start to go the route of considering the mind to be the sixth sense organ, the object of the mind is thinking. And so even being able to label to ourselves when we're wrapped up in thought and we notice it, okay, thinking. That we're not trying to divert away from thinking, but just noticing when awareness is moving through that sense of mind. It might even be that in moments our awareness is so sporadic that we might not even have time to really get the label out as far as the language is concerned. And just know that that's okay. That on days when we're feeling really distracted, when the mind is jumbled, that awareness can move quickly from one sense to another. And then without deepening the breath, just start to bring your attention back to the sensations of breathing in the body. Beginning to refocus our attention more on one particular thing. And then taking a deep breath in and a breath out. Maybe one or two more like that. You start to wake up the body. And softly open the eyes when you're ready. Welcome back. One of the things that I really love about that particular technique, which is one that I use often, more so in the middle of a practice for myself, right? That I might start off with an extended period of time feeling breathing, and then I'll move into noting practice. And what I really love about noting practice is, rather than always trying to stabilize what we might call the monkey mind, or the capacity for our awareness to just continuously pick up on what the senses are taking in, to take a moment in practice to just note what our senses are taking in on a regular basis. Right? Just to recognize sometimes that even though we don't necessarily notice that we're taking in information, our senses are constantly deriving input from the world around us. And so being able to take a moment in practice just to recognize and then to put a brief note on what the senses are actually taking in, right? Whether I'm hearing something, feeling something, seeing something, smelling, tasting, or thinking. Right? And to be doing that, right, on a relatively consistent basis, like through an extended period of time. Right? And as an adjunct to what we just did, it might even be that you take moments in your day, if you know that you're going to be doing something that you kind of always do. For me, it's these moments of the day when my wife is in the bathtub with my son and my daughter. And my job when they're doing that is to go around the house and to do some tidying and to get things like pajamas and toothbrushes ready for bedtime. And so what I'll do in my own daily life is, in that period of time where I'm tidying up and grabbing pajamas, toothbrush, maybe vacuuming the carpet, that I'll say to myself what it is that I'm doing while I'm doing it, right? So walking to my son's bedroom, going into the closet, opening the drawer, right? Grabbing the pajamas, closing the drawer. And it can seem really tedious at first. I know that there's kind of that impression, but it also just gives us maybe some more concreteness as to being able to describe to ourselves, taking a moment to describe to ourselves what it is that we are doing while we are doing it. Knowing that that is really a part of mindfulness practices, being attentive to what we are doing while we are doing it. But then to also notice, if you take on this practice, noticing like I have noticed, that there are moments when I'm labeling what I'm doing and then my mind gets wrapped up in something else. And I keep doing what I'm doing, but my mind is planning for a class that I'm teaching the next day, or wondering, right, like what I'm going to have for breakfast tomorrow. And then recognizing that, and then coming back to the labeling, coming back to the noting practice. Right? So we can do this even in moments of our lives when we're not on a cushion, right? Not in a formal sitting practice. Yeah. So feel free to take that with you. Hands to heart, head to heart, and one bow.